Sorry about the stills to start this off with. I was not thinking when I was doing all the prep work. I did it over several evenings and never stopped once to think about getting any video of it, unfortunately. So the first picture you're seeing is the bottom of the cab with nothing done to it. It's the way it looked when I flipped it up. Second picture is a little ways into some prep work, and then the video will start right after that. Thank you. Hello everyone. Just doing a little update on my 79 C10 Project Hussy. I've been calling her Hussy. 79 C10 came out of New Mexico desert. Looks like it's got 41 or 42,000 miles on it original. Very good shape, just fried. So because it's been in the desert, it is very dry, and this is all original sheet metal we're looking at here on the bottom of this truck. You can see some of the runs and stuff from the paint when they did it from the factory. Down here there's some real good ones running up this direction. Some right in here, but there was really no rust on this truck. Pretty much nothing. I mean, it had some surface rust in a couple of spots. There's a little place up here, can't even see it anymore. I prepped it all, it's gone. Sanded it out. What else there was? You know, areas like this piece was put on there bare, this was bare. Whenever they undercoated it, the gaps in here rust, get a little water. You know, there's a pretty good sized gap right here, little gap back there. Get a little moisture in there at some point in its life, and then you get a little bit of that stain in here, but really nothing. I mean, a lot of it wiped off with kerosene. Just when I was cleaning the bottom of this up with soap and water, and then come back over it with kerosene later, most of the rust, stains and whatnot just kind of wiped off. There's just really nothing to speak of on here. It's ridiculous how clean this is. So it's already prepped. I've spent the last probably 3 evenings working on prepping this. Variety of tools. Some of the stuff that I've been using down here, anything from a little whiz wheel and some stripper tools up to the big gun here. And this is a slick brush right here for anybody that's looking into doing this. This is essentially sandpaper in a brush format. It's good for, it's supposed to be about 80 grit, I want to say. Put that right on my grinder over there, and get out there in the big open areas and just scuffed everything. It was awesome. I mean, just, it starts making dust. You can actually peel the paint all the way down to bare metal if you wanted to with it, but it's, in this case, most everything that was left on here was stuck fairly well anyway. I did some cleanup. There's a lot of you can see it right in here, just kind of texture, and it's just I don't know, it bubbled a little bit when they put it on or whatever. I did as much as I could clean that up. There was actually some drips in some of this, similar to you know what you see in the runs in places like this. There were actually drips where the bottom of the truck was facing down when they sprayed it, and you have a little, you know, fat little drip. There was a lot of that in some of these, especially these flat areas on both of these sides of the tunnel. So I kind of sanded that stuff down and cleaned it up. I don't know, just the variety of tools that I used for cleanup. You know, a little bit smaller than this. Did some hand work with some foam, sand blocks, even just soap and water. I spent a lot of time doing prep. I'm a big believer that a project like this benefits most from the amount of time you spend on prep. Obviously the truck is the cab is all taped off and everything too to protect it. The paint, because I don't intend to paint this truck. The paint, the body on it is in good shape. The paint is not perfect, but it'll be an awesome driver, and it kind of fits with today's trend, you know, where things kind of look a little rough on the outside, but when you open the hood they sparkle. So I guess that's what I'm shooting for a little bit. So this is the product that I intend to put on. I've never used this before. I have used things like a lot of people are familiar with lizard skin. This is a lot different than lizard skin. Lizard skin is kind of soft and spongy. This will go on a lot thinner and will be like a layer of plastic. It's very hard. It's supposed to be, it started out as a bed liner, and then people started figuring out that it worked really well. I think in the rock crawling community is where it kind of started. They figured out that they put this on the bottom of their rock crawlers and whatnot, and it's very durable and it's slick. When it's finished, it'll be high gloss, and it's very slick to the touch, like dragging your hand across a granite countertop or a mirror surface. It's very slick. It does have some texture to it depending on how you put it on. There are options for how you put it on. I'm going to try to use a fine texture. We'll see if I can get it done or not. This will be my first time doing it, but I hope to have this done today. I have to spray, I think 3 coats is probably what I'm expecting to have to put on this to cover it all. You have to do it in thin layers, but I thought I'd show you guys the before on it, and then I will come back after it's done, or maybe a couple of shots in between as I do the different layers, and show it as it's kind of coming together. So I'll be back. One can used. Didn't get the whole bottom of the truck. It is thin like it's supposed to be. In some areas you can still see primer through there. Said to put it in on thin layers. I'm trying to do that. It's very difficult to do that when you're trying to get into cracks and crevices. It's going to be thick. And those cracks and crevices, unfortunately, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I just won't have to hit those as many times. So that's round one. I'm currently mixing the second can so I can get this unfinished area here and probably go right into starting to put a second layer on. Needs about a 15-20 minute flash time between coats, and by the time I get there, that's probably about as long as this will have been, so be able to move right on. All right, here we go. Coat number 2. It's pretty well covered. It is very difficult to get in all the cracks and crevices, but it's really starting to come out like the vehicle that I had previously seen. The amount of gloss to this will not change, actually, which is the one thing that I don't like about this. They don't have a semi-gloss option or anything. I tend to prefer the semi-gloss on the bottom of my vehicles. I just think it looks better. Doesn't need to be glossy, but it is what it is. I'm running with it. Getting in these cracks and up in these channels is a pain in the ass, but kind of figuring it out. I'm getting them fairly well. Not perfect. Trying not to fill in cavities like this. In my mind, I feel like water needs to be able to get out of there. We don't want to fill that stuff up all the way and then water be trapped in there if it's coming from up above somewhere, which happens in a few places. Maybe not back here so much, but some of these places up here, you know, if water can drip down the firewall and get in behind here and run down, there's like back here, if you go behind all that, and there is a drain hole back here. So trying to pay attention to that stuff and not fill it completely full of plastic. It's coming along. Okay, here we are. 3 cans. There's 4 in the kit. I used 3 cans on the bottom of this truck cab, just the cab. Took me about an hour and 20, hour and 30 minutes to spray down there, including time to let it set. They say flash. Needs about 15 to 20 minutes to flash between coats. I'm pretty happy. This looks pretty killer. Some areas are a little thick, trying to get in behind areas like this. It's just gonna be the way that it is. I mean, I'm not gonna get around it. You can see cab mount. This is loose in there and I wanted it to stay that way, so I completely blocked it off. All the way up underneath the front lip of the firewall. But I did tape off places like this on purpose. I did not want to stop water from being able to get out of those locations. Maybe I'm just being anal, but it just seems to me that that needs to be able to drain if water does get in there. Got a little bit out onto the sides. This area wasn't painted previously. Got just a little bit of an edge on the bottom of the rockers because that area was just about didn't have any paint on it anyway. Shouldn't be too noticeable with the once it's down on the ground the way it's supposed to be. It's just the very edge. Some of it's still a little damp. Areas like this, you can see it's a little thick right there. The texture is different. Trying to get it in the crack. Same behind here, which is probably hard to see on camera. Taped all the threads for all of the seat belts and seats inside, so all those can come out without being buggered up. Should be pretty cool. I can tell you for a fact that this stuff is going to be stuck hard, and the reason that I say that is my unprepped concrete floor is now a textured concrete floor, and I tried cleaning some of that up with some thinner and even some kerosene, and it is not coming off. So as much as it's important to prep your cab or whatever it is that you're going to apply something like this to make sure you don't get overspray down the sides or wherever you don't want it, it's also pretty important to consider the floor that you're going to spray this on and around, because this floor it's going to be a long time, and this stuff is stuck. I mean, it's only been on there an hour and a half or so, maybe 2 hours if it was some of it's from the first coating, and it is stuck. It's hard. It ain't coming off. I even got a little putty knife out here. So if the bottom of this cab is, if it sticks as well to that as it did to the floor, an unprepped floor, this ought to be pretty permanent. I'm liking it. Take care, guys.